Do you have any artists in particular that...
Well, I do. I hold myself to a very high standard. I mean, I'm not suggesting for a moment I'm like the Beatles or David Bowie, but these are artists that I really think did the job well. These was people who came out with really great songs that have stood the test of times. We still hear them, and, you know, the songs have really lasted and maintained their stand, you know, their shelf life with the American audience. So those are the two that really spring to mind. Melody is really very, very key for me. I let other people take care of the rhythm and bass in my music, but to me melody is largely missing in this day and age, and I know that people are crying out for it.
In music all over the world, or particularly in America?
You know, I definitely don't want to be rude about what people are listening to, but I find it not to be as melodic as I would like it to be, and I really enjoy melody. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely, although it has been better recently, you know, I think the last year has actually, I've seen like quite an improvement in my opinion to the kind of records that are going into the Hot 100. But there was a period there where it really was, for me, quite a wasteland, quite barren in terms of melody.
Mm-hmm. Now, despite the obvious growth that a lot of songwriters go through over the years, do you think that yours has grown a lot over the past couple of years, more so than before you moved to the United States?
I think what moving to another country and living in a different culture has taught me is that, you know, that there are more than one way to live your life, and there is definitely more than one way to see things. And so yes, I think I've grown in terms of I'm able to relate to different spectrums of humanity and the way they approach a situation and the way that different people approach different things. And I'm all about that. I'm all about learning, you know, how different people feel about different things. And then to be able to absorb that and really take that to heart sometimes results in you singing songs from another person's perspective, because you really get it. You know, you've really absorbed that viewpoint, and you know, it becomes part of your psyche, and therefore you start to write songs in that fashion, you know, depending on who you're moving around or who you're circulating with.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit more about the album itself. You have a single that's going to be coming out, and the first one is called Clear Conscience. What was the writing process like, that one?
I was just really amazed by it, because it's essentially a confessional. It's saying, as I have, you know, I'm not an angel by in any way, shape or form. I've had a really interesting experience since moving here. You know, it hasn't all been pretty. It's not all been easy. You know, I've had some very difficult experiences in my life. And what Clear Conscience was to do was to say, okay, but those difficult times are over now. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't for nothing. You know, I went through those difficult experiences, and I've grown as a result of it, and I'm pretty sure that the unpleasant things that I went through are not going to happen again, that I've really learned my lesson from the difficult things I've been through. And I needed to commit that to record. I really needed to say, you know, it's been difficult, it's been tough, it's been hard, there's been tears, there's been hardship, and I'm not the only one who feels that way. I mean, if I could have a penny for every person that's ever felt that, you know, I'd be a rich man. I think this is a song that people are really going to relate to. But I didn't write it from that perspective. I wrote it from the perspective that this is really how I felt, and it just came to me in an instant. And of all the songs I've recorded, it was just, it just committed itself immediately to being ready. And that in itself was very rewarding, because usually my songs take a long time to record. So it was very, very exciting.
You're obviously very passionate about that particular track, but what about it made you say, this is going to be my first single, the first taste of Franklin Ave?
I think the reason for that is that it's so accessible And I think that people, as I said, will relate to this song. And it just has a sound about it which I think it needs to be released as soon as possible. I think people need to hear this song. I know in England that we're going to have a really good response to the song. And I believe here as well, you know, it will resonate, you know, in other territories as well. I just think it's instant. It feels very real and almost actually surreal in terms of it's like me listening to a record by somebody else. You know, that's how much I like it. I really think this, you know, this comes on and I can hear it on the radio. I can hear other people singing it. I can see people enjoying it. So I think it's a no-brainer. You know, this needs to be the first song from me.